And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Traveling up. Roger and roll, Atlantis.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange!
R45! Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
This methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You dead? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another NSF live stream from right here on the Space Coast of Florida. You are currently taking a live look over at Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, where SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket is poised to launch the Starlink 6-93 mission in just under 1 hour's time. Seeing a bunch of 5x5s in the YouTube chat, y'all, I think it's safe to say we are off to a great start. My name is Max Evans. I am a spaceflight photographer here at NSF, and per usual, I am not alone on tonight's stream. And first and foremost, joining me from the field is the one and only D Wise. D, how you doing?
I am doing really well. It is always a great day when you have a rocket on the pad getting ready to launch. So it is a good day today.
Indeed it is. The sun had just gone down a few minutes ago, so we are now in the blue hour here at the KSC, so it is looking lovely out tonight. But before we get too far into that, also joining us from the studio is Mr. Sawyer Rosenstein. Sawyer, how you doing?
Max, I am doing fantastic. It is a gorgeous night here in Florida, and this is your ordinary Starlink tonight. Oh, am I kidding? It's not your ordinary Starlink, and we'll talk about why.
I was going to say, you sounded very not Sawyer-ish there when you said that. I was a little worried there for a second, but...
Fooled you!
But just as a reminder, folks, the way we work here on YouTube is we will answer and get to your questions as much as you can. All you got to do is just tag us in chat at NASASpaceflight, and we will get to all of your stuff as we can throughout the stream. And a special shout out to those of you who are watching tonight right on the Popular Science channel. Welcome one, welcome all, and we are glad to have you. But before we get too far into the stream, Sawyer, would you mind giving us a rundown of what exactly is launching tonight?
Absolutely. Tonight is another batch of Starlink V2 mini satellites. Although we had the record just the other night with 29 of them, tonight we are back to the good old-fashioned 28 Starlink V2 minis, which is still a lot. And because of that, though, a reminder, with 28, those are all just the regular V2 minis, none of the direct-to-cell, but that is typical at this point for the Group 6 missions. This one is set to launch, like the other Group 6 flights, towards the southeast, with hopefully being a landing on the drone ship Just Read the Instructions, about 600-ish kilometers downrange to the northeast of the Bahamas, as you could see on that nice little red splotch in the bottom right of that picture.
Indeedy, and we might get a little bit of, well, actually, I think we might be out of a jellyfish territory by the time T0 comes around at 9:17 p.m. Eastern. Sad to say, because the window opened at 8:22 p.m. local time here, and it would have been an absolutely stunning launch had it launched between like the next 15 minutes after that. But that is just the way the ball rolls, and we are still getting a launch at a not so undecent hour here on the East Coast for once, so we are pumped for that. But also on the docket over at Slick 40 is booster B1085, and this is only its 7th mission. So a relatively young booster in SpaceX's Falcon 9 fleet, at least here on the East Coast of Florida. Because it's such a young booster, its flight history includes only, dare I say only, Crew 9, RRT-1, Firefly's Blue Ghost Mission 1, from 2, and only 2 previous Starlink missions. it's a baby by comparison to what we see a lot of the time, and especially compared to B-1067, which is the current fleet leader, holding at 27 flights. Hopefully, it's 28th sooner rather than later.
But it's amazing, Max, though, that it is only it's of that many flights. It has some power hitters in there. I mean, this has done more than some boosters that have flown 15 flights. You've got 2 crew missions in there. You've got a lunar lander. You've got a GPS satellite. That is quite a big thing. This launched the first ever mission to send people around the poles of Earth. Sorry, yeah, 2 lunar landers, because it was the dual in the single one with Okudoar and Blue Ghost.
And one of which still has yet to land on the moon, curiously. That will be landing on the moon hopefully next month. Well, either way, it'll be making contact with the lunar surface next month, but hopefully with under all of its proper landing legs and not on its side like some other landers that we've seen as of recent. But that is still about a month away, and we wish them all the very best until then. This is also SpaceX's 55th launch of 2025, the 3rd of May, and the 249th from Space Launch Complex 40. A lot of rockets don't even fly 249 times, let alone have a pad that has supported that many missions. And a majority of those are courtesy of SpaceX having taken over the rights from Slick 40, serving the old Titan family of rockets. Tonight's launch is also the 255th dedicated to the Starlink constellations. And as Sawyer said earlier, with this being a Group 6 shell, it is only the Starlink V2 minis and not a mix of the V2 minis and the direct-to-cell satellites. But, D, how is the weather currently looking here at the KIC and the Cape? It's been raining all day, hasn't it?
Yeah, most of the day the weather has been pretty bad. We've had thunderstorms, lots of clouds, but this evening it has really, really cleared up. We've got some blue skies here that are really starting to fade now as the sun has set. But the 45th Weather Squadron, which of course takes a look at the weather in the area and gives predictions on the probability of violation for all of these launches here off of Florida's coast, gave today's weather a 15% chance of violating weather constraints. So their primary concerns there are the Anvil Clouds Rule as well as the Cumulus Clouds Rule. But this prediction came out yesterday, and of course, as we get closer, there is a much clearer picture of what the weather is actually like, and there are not any clouds that I see that I would consider concerning for a liftoff tonight. Additionally, they take a look at some additional risk criteria such as upper level wind shear, booster recovery weather, and solar activity, and all of those are low, so those really aren't a concern today. So it is a beautiful night for a launch, and I think we can look forward to one in a bit over 50 minutes.
I would sure hope so. You and I have been talking recently as well about how the weather, and I'm sure those of you who watch us on the regular will know that we have brought up the weather, I think, a decent number of times in recent streams, because we've been saying the weather has been too good here in Central Florida for this time of year, because normally we're well into the summer weather patterns here in Central Florida, i.e. rain and thunderstorms every single afternoon between roughly 2 and 3 p.m. and 5 and 6 p.m. And we had a lot of cloud cover and a lot of rain today. It is a bit refreshing to see all of that come back, but at the same time, when you have to go set up cameras and go work a launch in that weather, it can be suboptimal. But honestly, the weather has cleared up very nicely here tonight, and so we are hoping to get a beautiful launch of Falcon 9 in just under 50 minutes. And for those watching on Pop Slide, we will see you right back after a quick ad break. But in the meantime, question here from Lord Fathoms. I think we just answered this earlier in the description, but Lord Fathoms asking, will there be a jellyfish tonight? Sawyer?
Probably not. It's, as you pointed out, the way the window opened, if it had gone to that T0, probably. And for those who don't know, because I saw some questions earlier, when we talk about jellyfish, as it gets higher up into the atmosphere and the atmosphere gets thinner, the plume starts to expand. If the sun is either just about to rise or has just set, as it hits that point, the way that the light hits the plume it gives it this kind of glow to it. And since it is that expanded plume, it looks like the top of a jellyfish. So we call that the jellyfish effect. Based on the T0, I think it's just outside the range of it. The sun will have set too much. There won't be enough light going over the curvature of the Earth based on how high this is going. So probably not, but we'll see if we get some effect.
I mean, the last time we said we were not going to get one, like we were fairly certain we were not going to get one with Bandwagon 3, and then SpaceX just lofted the booster way higher and way steeper than we've seen in quite a while, and we got a bit of a jellyfish to all of our surprise. But with this being a Starlink mission, I can't really see them just yeeting a booster on that steep of a flight path. Typical for the Group 6 shell. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think we are going to get that tonight, but I think we are due for a really nice one here soon, because those are quite the spectacle to see, either with your eyes or on camera as well. Ooh, actually a really good question here from 98 Central, a name that we see with really good questions here often. Sawyer, I'm also going to toss this one back to you. Falcon 1 Block 1 had the Merlin engines in a square configuration. Why was it changed to what we see today?
Ooh, that's a very good question, actually. I'll be honest, I'm not sure I know the exact answer of that. Max, do you?
I believe it had a lot to do with the cost of manufacturing Falcon 9 to come down, and a lot more. I can never say this word without stuttering, but making all the parts more uniform in going from the octagrid, or what was it called? The
Octaweb?
Well, before that, when they were 3x3 in the square.
I always just called it the tic-tac-toe.
That's pretty much what it is reminiscent of. And currently, Falcon 9 is configured in what's called an octaweb, which means they have eight engines surrounding the center engine, which gives it a much more, I guess, uniform and cleaner look, but also makes the parts a lot easier to manufacture and gives Falcon 9 a bit smaller of a footprint. But also to support the landing legs on Falcon 9, it helps to have a circular tank structure or structure to mount the legs to, and not a square on the bottom and then a curved surface on top. I believe. I don't think SpaceX has given quite a specific explanation as to why that happened, but that is what we believe to have happened based on what we can observe.
Yeah, the only thing I remember them mentioning has something to do with basically the weight of the thrust structure and to streamline the manufacturing of it as a result, but I wasn't sure if there was any more details to that I was missing.
Yeah, but otherwise, Falcon 9 has been working on that design now for many years, and it has proven to work, especially in the Block 5 configuration, because they have used Falcon 9 over and over and over again hundreds of times, and they should be crossing that 1,000 flight milestone, hopefully before we know it, in the next few years, because at this point, they should be launching anywhere from, I think, at this point in 2025, based on their current launch count, they should be in the cadence range, assuming everything continues as it is now, to about 150 to 160 launches this year, which is a bit lower than they initially wanted, but it's still more than last year. So hopefully, what are you laughing at?
150 to 160 is a bit lower than they planned.
I know.
Holy.
It's a sign of just how spoiled we have become here on the east coast of Florida, in that SpaceX is launching Falcon 9s like they're aircraft taking off out of Orlando almost. That is just how reliable Falcon 9 has proven to be, like well more often than not, with a 99.3% overall success rate. But also Slick 40, the pad that you're looking at now, it's the busiest launch complex in the world, and it has an average launch cadence of anywhere from 2 to 4 days at its quickest, and we have seen under 3 days on a few occasions. So it's really just business as usual for SpaceX, and they make it look so easy. But as we've seen from activities in the past 12 months, not just with SpaceX, but for anyone trying to fly around the world in the last year, spaceflight is anything but easy and routine. So hopefully SpaceX can keep up what they're doing and improve Falcon 9 even more than where it is now. All right, so I think it's time to go through the structure or timeline of events that should be coming up in the next few minutes as we are about to cross the T-minus 44-minute mark. So Sawyer, coming up in the next few minutes, hopefully, and up until about T-minus 20, what can we expect to see both with our eyeballs and what is happening over at Slick 40?
Absolutely. So, what should be happening in the next couple of minutes is that they will begin the go no go poll for propellant load. This is done using buttons on the consoles inside of the launch control / mission control area that they have for this particular flight. Unfortunately, we don't get to see that. We don't get to hear that. We will only know if they have given the go for propellant load if they begin loading up the vehicle at T-minus 35 minutes. That would start with the RP-1, the rocket propellant 1, which is a type of kerosene that is super refined, along with the liquid oxygen into that first stage. Meanwhile, it will just be the RP-1 into stage 2. That will continue until it wraps up at T-minus 20 minutes and 20 seconds, which we will know by the best vent. We will hopefully get the perfect indication that they have begun the propellant load if we start seeing frost on that first stage, and that we should see about 32 to 33 minutes until launch, so about 3 minutes after they start prop load.
So in actually about 10 minutes time, we will hopefully begin to see frost on the bottom of Falcon 9's liquid oxygen tank, which is about halfway up the first stage, which is below that little black section in the middle of the rocket. That is the interstage, and the first stage is everything underneath that. And so you have the LOX tank, or the Sawyer, how do you say it? Loxygen? Is that what you say? Loxygen. Okay. You have the LOX tank on top, and then you have the RP-1 or kerosene tank on the bottom. And because of our views out to Slick 40 from the KSC press site, usually our first indication that prop load is underway is we have a view of frost forming at the very bottom of the LOX tank. So hopefully that's coming up in around 10 minutes. But before we do that, we have to pass through that T-minus 38 minute go mark from the SpaceX launch director here on the East Coast of Florida. So until then, I think I'm going to hit a little bit of support here. Zero Gravity Gaming becoming a Pad Rat member. Amazing. Thank you so much. And Redbone 573 upgrading to Capcom. Wow. That is tremendous. And for everyone who is unfamiliar with our membership program here at NSF, if you are a Capcom member and above here on YouTube, you get full Discord access to everyone here at NSF and a bunch of like-minded aerospace nerds to talk about everything spaceflight, and some things that are not so spaceflight related. Can be anything, any topic that you fancy. So Capcom and above, that is one of the best ways to support us. Wilbo Baggins coming in, gifting 1 Red Team membership to a very lucky viewer, a name that we see in here very often. Thank you, Wilbo. We appreciate it. Ethereal Swordsman, another name that we see in pretty often, with a $5 super chat. If K is a substitute for OK, and some people call their grandpa Pop, couldn't K-pop be a substitute for OK? Oh, wow.
Wow, that escalated.
It sure did. I didn't read that fully ahead of time. I apologize. But yes, I guess... Sure, I think whatever you fancy.
Yeah, say that to the oldest person that's working this stream right now. Okay,
okay, boomer. Frank A. Kirsch becoming a Pad Rat member, and Ninja Decimator, pew pew pew, because with a $5 super chat saying East Coast, Best Coast. Ninja Decimator. Yes, that is what we like to see. Fantastic. That is the only correct opinion on East Coast streams. Anyone who says otherwise, straight to jail. Not
exactly.
Really. But I think I want to hit this question before we go into another ad break for those on the Popular Science channel. It's not a joke with the question. At NASASpaceflight, is the visitor center open for viewing these, and how does that work? So I assume you are referring to the KSC Visitor Complex, which is right outside the Kennedy Space Center. And sometimes they offer launch viewing at their spot just outside the East Gate, or over here at the Saturn V Center, just north of the Vehicle Assembly Building here at the KSC. Depending on when the launch is, they do support viewing for it, especially for Starlinks, but that it has to fall within their hours of operation. And tonight's launch with a T0 currently after 9 p.m., they close, I believe, at 5 or 6 p.m. in the afternoon. So with this falling with outside of their operating hours, I can't really say. I'm not sure. But I don't think that they're supporting viewing for this one specifically.
Yeah, typically the only time that they will actually open for that is if there is a major like crew launch or something like that, but not for a Starlink.
Yep. And for anyone wondering who or where, you can go to watch any launch from here on the East Coast. We actually have a great video featuring Julia, Sawyer, and myself about where to go and where are the best places to go for each pad here on the East Coast of Florida to view any sort of launch or landing that you might desire. So I hope that they are open tonight, but I don't think so given the time. All right. Ooh, Saad Usmani with a really good question. At NASASpaceflight, with some minor modifications, would a Super Heavy without the ship have enough Delta V to launch from Starbase and do a catch in Florida, regulatory issues aside? I don't know, actually. Sawyer, any idea?
I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to, given that they can launch the ship basically all the way out to the Indian Ocean. If you're talking about that kind of trajectory, and I hate to bring this up, but if you think of how we saw Flight 8 meet its end, it was seen very clearly over Florida. So I guess if you don't do a boost back burn with it, it would be possible, I think, to catch it at the Cape. The question would be, though, getting permission to do that.
Yeah, well, that's a lot farther along in flight, and ship is traveling at a velocity that is much faster than super heavy ever reaches. So yeah, I don't think, at least especially with the current Block 1 or V1 super heavy booster, even if you had 10 to 15% less weight and you only fired, say, 13 of the engines to save the weight of the additional 20 on board. I think it's a far cry to get super heavy to the Cape from Starbase by flying it. Ship,
the other
absolutely.
thing to consider is they can't just launch the booster. That doesn't make sense aerodynamically. So would they be adding some sort of nose cone to the booster in order to make it more aerodynamic? And while that would be really cool to see, I don't have the numbers in front of me to be able to say, oh, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I can dream, okay?
we can all dream, but it is certainly a far cry from what SpaceX wants to do. Now, a point-to-point for ship is certainly up for discussion. Booster, probably not so much. But if SpaceX was to throw a nose cone on Super Heavy, for example, they might as well put a nose cone on one more and then put 3 Super Heavy boosters together with a ship and call it, I guess, I don't know, Starship Super Duper Heavy. I don't know, 99 Merlin 1Ds. Wow, 99 Raptor engines would be insane. But I don't foresee that happening anytime soon.
I've got 99 problems and thrust to weight ratio is 1.
Thrust
Is it
to weight
99?
ratio. Wow. Yeah, it's 33 times 3, Sawyer. Goodness. I've got 99 engines, but thrust to weight is wow. Yeah, that's actually clever, Sawyer. I will have to give you that one. I'll have to give you that one.
Thank you.
But Sawyer, we have just crossed at this point the T-minus 38-minute mark, which means we are either go or no go for prop load, which will commence in a few seconds here. So everyone, keep your eyes open for the bottom of the LOX tank on Falcon 9 for these signs of any frost. Ooh, another great question from 98 Central. Dude, you always ask the most insightful questions that we always have the most fun talking about. This is a really good question. So, does SpaceX manufacture adapter rings for satellites that were designed to launch on other vehicles, I presume? I know SpaceX prefers to use any of their own payload supporting hardware. And the one time they didn't, I think, Sawyer, do you recall the mission called Zuma?
Oh, I remember Zuma. Yeah, well, at least what we were able to know of Zuma, since it was very much a secretive mission, although that didn't
one of the most hush-hush missions that we have seen in recent times. And as far as we are concerned with what has been said publicly to anybody, that the reason for the satellite not being deployed wasn't an issue with the payload adapter. So And that is why SpaceX likes to use their own payload adapters, because any fault of that payload adapter is either on SpaceX or they can make it a super reliable system. And to this point, they have, especially with their rideshare missions being bandwagon and most popularly transporter, where they have upwards of between 50 and 100 satellites per launch, which is absolutely insane.
Wait, why are we showing a black screen on the left here? I totally don't see a Zuma launch happening in that other split screen there.
Yeah, me either. It's like a total, it's just missing pixels at this point. Oh, goodness. But SpaceX prefers to use their own hardware wherever they can.
There we go.
What?
Bottom right of it.
I mean, that's basically how that mission was treated. I know I've asked a lot of my friends about it, because this was before I came to Florida. I tried asking friends about this mission, and nobody knew anything. Like, it was just all in silence. Like, it was almost clandestine in the way it was operated, I guess. I don't know. Sawyer, were you here for that one?
I wasn't at that one specifically, but I remember the launch very vividly, and all of the hype or lack thereof surrounding it. The biggest question was, what the heck is this thing? And then the trying to do the whole Jonathan McDowell tracking of it. Wait, what happened? Is it there? Is it not there? It was a wild time.
But we have moved long past that, have we? And Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy at this point have carried many classified missions for the NRO and the Space Force. So I think it's safe to say that they have moved on past whatever issues they've had. Plus Starship. Well, that hasn't launched anything of meaning yet. Beyond Starshield.
Yeah.
My apologies.
There's too many things with Star.
Yeah, I know. But as far as we are aware, Starshield has only been flying maybe out of Vandenberg. I know SpaceX is also very hush-hush about the Starshield constellation, but, as they should, because it is not publicly known technology or purpose. So it is. I think the NRO is their primary customer for that. So, of course, we are not going to know anything.
But what we do know is that there's frost forming on Falcon 9.
There you go. On the very bottom of the LOX tank, just above the shrubbery there on Falcon 9, you can see the beginnings of what prop load looks like on Falcon 9, which is a great time, which means SpaceX is now committed to that 9:17 p.m. local time T0. And if for whatever reason they have to abort, they do not have the time or resources to recycle the vehicle or any of the ground systems to launch at any point later in the window. Sawyer, why is that?
That because of the fact that with the load and go system they use, they are using super cooled propellants. So they're already getting the propellant very cold to begin with. The fact to get oxygen into a liquid state is cold. But what they do is they take it a little bit colder. As a result, it gets more dense, which means they can actually fit more propellant inside of the tanks. But because of how cold it is and how much they try and squeeze in there, if they were to let it sit, the amount that would kind of just evaporate off because of Florida temperatures and things really wouldn't allow for them to continue to top it off that much longer. So it's easiest to just try and get as much of that densified propellant in and then send it. And if not, rather than trying to spend money to top it off, it's easier for them economically to just try again another day.
Yep. And noting the frost on Falcon 9's first stage, it can be a bit more tricky to spot that frost line on I guess, quote unquote, younger boosters, as they have a lot less soot or darker soot on them, which the more a booster has flown, the more soot is on board and the darker its finish is, which makes the contrast of the soot a lot greater. And so it's a lot easier to spot the frost. But given the direction of the vapors coming off of the tank, not difficult to spot the frost line tonight at all, thankfully. So Falcon 9 will continue to prop load for almost until T0, and it fills up pretty quickly, but not as quick as Starship will hopefully eventually from Pad B later this year. Cross your fingers.
It's pretty incredible that we're seeing a 7th flight booster, and we're referring to those as pretty new boosters.
I know.
Because just not long ago, it was a handful of flights, and then it reached 10, and that was a huge deal. And now we're well into the 20s, and so it is really cool that 7 flights is still a young booster at this point.
Very young, yes. I mean, honestly, it's rare to see any booster below 10 flights at this point, let alone a brand new booster, which we just saw 1094 supporting a Starlink mission just last week. It's always a treat to see those. Ooh, okay. This is a question that I want to toss to both of you. Fighting Falcon asking, how many years do you think Falcon 9 has left? I will start with D.
Absolute minimum, I would say, of 6, 7 years. Absolute minimum, I think. Because we've got, I'd say, at least until the end of the ISS. That is the guarantee. And then at what point does it make sense to actually retire it versus, like, all those payloads would have to be on Starship and need all the national security support, like everything, and there will certainly be trade-offs for a while to come between Falcon 9 and Starship. So I think we've got a while left yet.
In an ideal world, Starship will be taking that over from Falcon 9 eventually.
Eventually, for sure, but I think we've got a good amount of time here.
And what do you think, Sawyer?
I'm thinking 10 because, SpaceX likes nice even numbers on things except for the number 9. But you've got 10 years left, let's say. There's still a whole bunch of NSSL contracts that they have to do, which is national security payloads, basically, that they've contracted out. Some of those go out to the 2030s. You've got, as you mentioned, D, the ISS still to go. And then I'm sure there's going to be some other commercial stations that want to utilize it. We know Vast, their plan is to use Dragon to get to it, which at this point would still require Falcon 9. So I think until they run out all of those contracts and everything, we're talking about 10 years.
I would have to agree with there, Sawyer. It'll be at least 5 to 10 years before SpaceX can actually phase out Falcon 9. We'll take a quick break here on the Popular Science channel, and we'll be right back. All right, hitting 1. Ooh. Oh, actually, you know what? I just saw somebody in chat. Also, 98 Central. Who's pushing the buttons and pulling the levers? I forgot to answer that question again. But goodness gracious, I'm a terrible host. I'm sorry, y'all. Behind the scenes, pushing the buttons and pulling the levers is Mr. Ryan Caton. So everyone say thank you, Ryan, for doing everything that he does. And also thank you, 98 Central, for reminding me before the very end of the stream. Oh, God, I hate forgetting that because I know Kevin talks about a producer's strike every once in a while, jokingly, of course. But I'm certainly not helping the case on our end. Oops.
Wait, why is Jake Keegan's name popping up?
I know, right? Oh, goodness gracious. Okay. So actually building off of that last question, Isabel Inc. asking, I just tossed it away. Oh, hang on. I got it. Would this mean a lot of Falcon Heavy missions toward the end? I presume, I assume this means at the end of Falcon's life. Falcon Heavy is a very rare rocket to see fly. It is very expensive. It is very resource. It takes a lot of resources and personnel hours to get ready and fly. So we see it fly at the most probably 2 times a year now on average. I mean, we only saw it fly twice last year with Clipper and then Goes You previously before that. So, yeesh. I hope we see a lot more Falcon Heavies flying, but I think at this point Starship is not far off from flying more than Falcon Heavy has. And mind you, Falcon Heavy first flew back in 2018. So, I hope so. Sawyer, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, if they want a heavy lifter, that's going to be Starship. I think once Starship gets to that point of they decide what they're going to use for their payload dispensing mechanism and things like that, then they'll be able to offer those heavier lift for those larger payloads. I think NASA, of course, is going to run out their contracts that they have that are already set for Falcon Heavy. So I think that's what's also going to be keeping that alive versus what's keeping Falcon 9 alive. But as soon as that's out, SpaceX, I think, will go all in on their newest heavy lifter, Starship, which is hopefully going to be more convenient as well.
We sure hope so. Ooh. Question here from Supersonic Retro Propulsion. That is an incredible name. I love that. At NASASpaceflight, do we know what Falcon's thrust-to-weight ratio is for a Starlink launch? It's certainly pushing the edge of what Falcon can do, at least in its reusable configuration. I believe it's around fully loaded, it's around, Alex or whoever is active in the back channel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's around 16,000 kilos is the payload mass for around 26 to 27, 28 Starlink V2 mini satellites. I could be wrong. But Starlink payloads tend to be the heavier of what Falcon 9 is able to carry while being reusable. And that's why it was such a groundbreaking feat to see 29 V2 minis on the previous Starlink launch, because before that, if you rewind to the end of last year or even the beginning of this year, they were usually averaging anywhere from 22, 23, sometimes 24 Starlink V2 minis. And I think it was, I can't remember who it was exactly, but some SpaceXer posted on X that they had the goal of launching 29 Starlink V2 mini satellites in one launch by the end of this year. And we were expecting probably towards Q3, Q4 they might do that, but as we've seen, they have rapidly ramped up how many V2 minis they can carry. First with 27, and now they have flown 28 3 times. This will be the 4th, and also the last one they had broken their own record again with 29 V2 minis. So not a light payload, and that is why Starlink missions, although looking routine from our perspective, are so valuable to all of those in the control room in terms of gathering data and pushing Falcon 9 to be a much more reliable and usable launch vehicle. And Alex in the back channel saying Falcon 9's thrust-to-weight ratio is around 1.4, which is actually pretty good. Unlike New Glenn that we saw at the beginning of this year, where it was just absolutely crawling off the pad, which it had to have been just over 1. It was very slow. But Falcon 9 gets up and goes pretty quickly. All right, Sawyer. Well, I'm going to bring you in here a little bit early. We're not quite at that point yet. But in just under 2 minutes, we have talked about the best vent. What exactly is that, and why is it significant?
Oh, let me see how long I can stretch this out here. So, okay, we'll take it slow. We are talking about the T-minus 20-minute, 20-second vent, which, as you pointed out, we call here the best vent. It is listed on that timeline there as the LOX chill down. So basically, once that vent occurs, that means that the RP-1, the Rocket Propellant 1, will have completely loaded into stage 2. It will continue to load into stage 1 until about the final 3 minutes or so of the countdown. Once that is done, next up is the load of the liquid oxygen. However, the RP-1 is a lot closer to ambient temperature. It's still cold, but closer to ambient temperature than the liquid oxygen. So they need to chill down the lines in preparation for that supercooled LOX to run through it. So they will slowly trickle that propellant through the line, get it conditioned so that once they are fully ready for it, they can start loading in the LOX. That will start at T-minus 16 minutes to go. So it'll be about 4 minutes of chill down on that LOX line. So as soon as we see the T-minus 20-minute, 20-second vent, we will know, as I just mentioned, to summarize, that the RP-1 will have fully loaded onto stage 2, and that the chill down will begin ahead of the super densified liquid oxygen to be loading onto stage 2 that will eventually feed that Merlin vacuum engine that's the very top of the rocket that will burn and then shut down and then do a second burn later. And there it is.
Yeah, you were getting very long-winded to try and time that just right, Sawyer. I heard I heard your lungs getting very thin in that one.
My name is Sawyer Alcantara Rosenstein.
Oh gosh, I'm expecting to see Alex in the back channel just raging at that, but that was timed perfectly. Uh-oh. I think we just heard him pop in there briefly, but so remember on the last Starlink mission, I looked to have timed the vent incorrectly at Pad A. Anyone remember that?
I do.
So I was actually correct. It's just the T0 shifted right by about 10 seconds. So at Slick 40, because of the way the TEs or the transporter erectors are built, the one at Slick 40 vents at T-minus 20 seconds, and the one at LC39A vents at T-minus 20 minutes and 30 seconds. So I thought I was dead wrong in that last one, but it looks like the T0 shifted by about 10 seconds. So just a little bit of nuance there.
Yep, but this one being a Pad 40 launch. So that was 39A. This one, as you see on the screen, is Slick 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, the launch pad that is way more optimized for Falcon 9 launches than 39A.
Indeed. Yep, Slick 40 will only ever launch Falcon 9, whereas Pad A can launch both Falcon 9, both in crew and cargo configurations, as well as Falcon Heavies. So that is what the TE over there at Pad A has to stand up to. Ooh, and another great question here from 98 Central. Did SpaceX construct a new water deluge system, or are they using the original equipment at Slick 40? I'm pretty sure that they have modified that pad to every extent that they possibly could. And the way the Titan 3 and Titan 4 rockets launched, they was SRB onlys straight off of the pad, and then the core stage was lit in flight. And I believe it launched so quickly off the pad that a quote, or I guess a normal, I guess, quote unquote, deluge system that we see so often on pads nowadays just wasn't really that necessary for how quickly it got off the ground. So SpaceX has had to retrofit everything that they possibly could, including a brand new and unique deluge system that's like 40 to support Falcon 9. So I assume everything is different over there. Gosh,
Yeah.
I wish I could have seen Titan 3 or Titan 4 fly. Sawyer and D, I don't know about you, but Titan 3, Titan 4 would have been an absolute beast to see fly in person. I wish so bad that I could have seen one.
Oh, I'm totally with you. That would have been incredible to witness.
Yeah, and all the solids and things that we see, I mean, those giant side cores on it were just, they looked massive in comparison to the center core stage there. It was unbelievably cool. And yeah, this one, they still have a lot of the original train tracks and things that were there, at least last time I was at Pad 40.
Yep.
They've modified the HIF to the horizontal integration facility for this. And then also the fact that in terms of the deluge system, they have those special rainbirds, which are a little bit more raised up at the pads than they were for, say, Shuttle or for Titan, which you can see on the left. That is what Pad 40 used to look like versus on the right, which is what it looks like now.
Yes. Oh, great. This is my favorite Titan 3 launch video. I believe this is, oh gosh, what mission was this? Was it Mars? Sawyer, do you know? It was Mars something.
I don't know off the top of my head. Oh,
Okay.
it says on it apparently. Cassini.
My screen's too small. Oh, Cassini! Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot. Okay.
Yeah, it helps that it's on the screen at the bottom there.
It does. Well, it's very small on my screen, so I can't exactly see it or read it well. So forgive me. But on that bombshell, we will take one more quick break here on PopSci, and we will see you back here in a couple minutes. But also, actually, going on about Slick 40, because Titan 3 and Titan 4 were supported by companies that have since merged into becoming what is now ULA. There is a lot more older like train tracks and hardware over at Slick 41 compared to Slick 40, because the way ULA moves their rockets around and the way they support each mission is not too dissimilar to what they had to with Titan, now with Atlas V and now Vulcan. So it's almost like stepping back in time a little bit, going over to Slick 41 with how much hardware is still there. And certainly with how often Atlas and Vulcan fly nowadays, it's certainly a spectacle every time. But yeah, there is still a lot of, I guess, quote unquote, old space hardware around the Cape. You just have to know where to look.
And I can say, as someone who has to wheel over, who's been on the tracks at 40 and 41 and had to wheel over them, I'm done with those. I'm glad that we're getting away from the train tracks, please.
Yeah, if you're not paying attention, it's pretty easy to trip over, or in your case, I guess, get stuck with your wheels.
Yeah, it's a big dip. And the ones at 40, again, I haven't been out on the pad at Pad 40 since probably 2016, but oh man, those were deep.
Has it really been that long for you, really?
Well, I'm talking about on the actual like ramp and inside the HIF, not just.
Oh, I see. Okay. Golly, that would have been so awesome. Okay, D, I actually have a question that I'm going to toss to you, and this is tailored for you pretty much. Astro Knucklehead asking, what are the specific challenges of filming and shooting at night? I'll let you take this one.
All right. So you might think the problem is that it is too dark, which to some extent is true, particularly in the lead up. The main challenge is just that it is so bright at the rocket and so dark everywhere else. So you have a trade off of whether you are exposing for the rocket, and you have a wide shot in order to show foreground detail. And then the moment of liftoff, your exposure has to change a lot. So for some of my cameras, I'll leave them to automatically adjust their exposure. For others, I will manually change the exposure right at liftoff. For me, shooting at night, that's the most difficult thing, is making sure you have a decent exposure before liftoff and immediately following liftoff.
Yeah, we are lucky in the fact that Falcon 9 is one of the brighter rockets to see fly because of its RP-1 and LOX combustion combination. Also, Atlas V or Vulcan or any rockets that utilize solid rocket motors also burn very bright. Cough, cough. Everyone recall Artemis 1 and how amazingly bright SLS was. But rockets like Delta IV or any of the newer Methalox Age of Rockets like Starship, or as we've seen back in January, New Glenn, they don't burn anywhere near as bright as, say, Falcon 9 or Atlas V, because the combustion between Methalox or the combustion of Methalox, I should say, just it has a lot more color to it, but it's also a lot more dim, similar to what we see on the RS-68 with the Hydrolox and also on the RS-25, even though because the RS-68 has an ablative surface on the inside of the nozzle, it burns a lot more orange and a bit brighter as a result of that. But rockets are much brighter than you think they are more often than not, and there's a reason why we call them an artificial sunrise. Certainly with Falcon 9. All right, going to knock out some support really quickly here. Nibbles gifting 1 Red Team membership to a lucky viewer. Bideford, another name that we see here very often, gifting 5 Red Team memberships to 5 lucky viewers. Ninja Decimator coming back, gifting 1 more Red Team membership to a lucky viewer. And also, with a $5 super chat, saying Sawyer Off-Road Wheel Fund.
Yes. Oh, you should see how much I tear up the gravel at the KSC press site.
I would love to see your chair with off-road tires. That'd be so fun.
Yes.
That'd be so fun.
Artemis 2, let's do it.
It's coming up faster than we think, to be honest with you. It could be as soon as April 2024. Wow, 2024, 2026. Golly, wow, time flies.
Going backwards.
Yeah, no, we're going backwards in time. Okay. Ooh. Great question. I think, Sawyer, you and I can both tackle this one jointly. From Brian Moore, asking, as Falcon 9 winds down, will they convert Slick 40 to Starship first, given 37 is needed for Falcon Heavy? I think you mean 39A is needed for Falcon Heavy, but Sawyer, what do you think?
Well, I think it comes down to what they end up using 37 for. Slick 40 and 39A will both now have the landing zones located on their property as opposed to the current LZs 1 and 2 over at LC 13, as that's going away July, I believe. I think that, Slick 40 is going to be all in on Falcon everything. If they need to, I could see them potentially converting that for Falcon Heavy before they would 37. Yeah. I think they haven't, right now, 37 is essentially going to be a clean slate. They have all the Delta IV stuff there. They can absolutely destroy it and build whatever they need. So I could see them doing it over at 37 first. And I can't wait to see that thing launch. I mean, Max, isn't that rocket gorgeous? I still love those hexagonal heat shield tiles on it, personally.
It is, and I hope that one day soon that you can see with your own eyes, because it is quite the spectacle. And SpaceX wants to bring it here before the end of this year, although we will see, and time will tell if they actually do. But also, what is a visual spectacle are, drumroll please, our brand new design of merch over at shop.nasaspaceflight.com, especially our beach towels. Our shop team has been knocking it out of the freaking park, Lindsay especially, with these newer designs. As you can see, is that Jack? Is that Jack wearing? I can't tell. It's too small on my screen. But anyway, no. As you can see, all of our bags, our mugs and cups, they are of a fantastic design, and that is also where you can see all of our metal prints and all of our other merch, like our shirts and sweatshirts and everything else that you could possibly want. So our shop team has been knocking it out of the park, and that is one of the best ways to support us here at NSF. So feel free to give that a look out for yourself and add something to your wall or something to your closet. Whatever you fancy. God, that towel is so cool.
Of course,
It's such a cool design. Of course, I still lie here. Yes, a very clever name, I have to say. Was that your idea or was that Lindsay's, Sawyer?
No, that neither. It was here before I got here.
Okay, well, of course, you just got here. I don't know. That was completely off the cuff and terrible. Probably.
Could have been worse.
Anyway, moving on. Ooh, okay. So we are now under the T-minus 10-minute mark. You're about to cross the T-minus 8-minute mark. We are coming up on T0 very quickly here. So I want to get out a couple of questions before we have to send D off first. I want to get this question from Frank. I always see the aluminum foil from the second stage pulsating in a steady rhythm. Why is it doing that, Sawyer?
So, yes, it seems like it would be a little bit weird, but that is all of the propellants that are running through it. You've got, again, the liquid oxygen and the RP1 that are going through into there. I'm trying to figure... I don't know why my brain all of a sudden just went completely blank on the exact reason. I mean, those are definitely the thermal protection kind of blanket almost in a way. It's kind of like the those metallic type blankets that you take when you go camping that are meant to be thermal. It's that kind of type material. Yes. So as the turbo pumps go, you kind of get that little pulsing.
And we see it because it's not firmly attached to every single bit of plumbing there on the MVAC. So it is normal. It is normal to see it flexing and moving under certain times. So that's all normal. What's not normal is seeing locks coming out of it. But D, we are now under T-minus 7 minutes. Do we have to let you go?
Yeah, it is about that time where I should start focusing on the cameras for tonight's launch. But, I see lots of stars right now. I see a moon in the sky. It is a beautiful night. So I will see you all on the other side.
See you on the other side, D. And yes, the weather here at the Kennedy Space Center, looking over to Space Launch Complex 40 at the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, has cleared up marvelously. It should be absolutely beautiful tonight. All right, Sawyer, we are now under the T-minus 7 minute mark. What should we expect in the coming minutes as we get closer to liftoff?
So, right now, the engine chill has begun on the 9 Merlin 1D engines, so the base of the first stage there. Again, that is thermally conditioning them for the shock that they're about to experience as they ignite and hopefully lift off the vehicle in just about 6 minutes. So they're starting to chill those down. In about a minute and a half, we will see the strong back start to retract. That is a metallic structure that will be up against the side of the vehicle. Right now, it is providing all of the propellant loading lines, it's providing electrical lines, data lines, thermal conditioning for the payloads, all of that going through it. It leans back 1.8 degrees, it then throws all the way back at T0. Then we should see the propellant loads start wrapping up on the first and second stages. And by 1.5 minutes, we should have a fully, or 2.5 minutes, we should have a fully fueled vehicle. And then T-minus 1 minute, that's when the onboard computers take control.
We are getting close here. And we always say that once we get below the T-minus 20 or even 10 minute mark, the time just absolutely erodes away faster than you can possibly fathom. It seems like just 5 minutes ago, we were at the T-minus 50 mark, and now we're at T-minus 5, which is remarkable. But that is just how quickly time erodes here on the Space Coast when a rocket is getting ready to go from the pad. And tonight, it is Falcon 9 from Slick 40.
And what I'm hoping is that with as gorgeous of a night as it is, there will be people along the coast of Florida that will be able to see it. You should be able to see this one going southeast. So that's obviously Tampa area far west, but otherwise Vero, Fort Pierce, West Palm, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, that area. Definitely keep an eye out for it. If you do see it, please take pictures of it. Send it to us on all of our social channels. We love to see them, and you'll also get to see our views on the social channels too.
100% Sawyer. Great call there. Yeah. So if weather is permitting in anyone's areas here just north or especially south of Cape Canaveral, go outside and have eyes on the skies in about T-minus 4 minutes. Some nice audio here from Slick 40 as Falcon 9 purges and vents and hisses as prop load wraps up and they get closer to liftoff.
You can also see the fairing halves at the top definitely look like they are reused, and these will hopefully also then parachute down and then be used again on a future flight. So you could tell the reuse happening there.
100%. And Sawyer, how many times have we seen fairings being reused? I think at this time, is it over 30 now?
The highest number I remember seeing was 28 or 29, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's over 30. And by the way, Bob is the vehicle downrange to catch the fairings, and just read the instructions, is towards the southeast of the launch site over near the Bahamas.
Awesome. So we are now just over T-minus 3 minutes. We should be hearing some callouts here in just a few moments from the SpaceX controllers over at Hangar X. As we get closer to vehicle finishing prop load and getting closer to T0. Okay, Alex in the back channel saying serial number 185 is at 29 flights. It may be one of the halves on this mission. The nerds at Next Spaceflight are doing their investigation. Still, 29 flights for a fairing half is not a small feat because those fairings have to go through a lot of loads on re-entry as well after fairing separation.
Yeah, and we could talk more about that as the fairings make their way down.
Yes. It's also worth noting that even though the fairings pop off, I guess not that long after staging.
Load is complete.
And there we go. First call out, stage 1 LOX load wrapping up on Falcon 9. Even though the fairings separate not long after staging, they still travel about an additional 100 kilometers downrange. That is how fast Falcon 9 is moving southeast or in any direction normally. So those are the kinds of velocities that we are working with any rocket nowadays, especially with Falcon 9. Coming up on T-minus 2 minutes exactly, we should be hearing additional callouts as prop load wraps up on the rest of the stages.
And it should just be one more, and then we'll get the gas closeout, which will be the return, essentially. There is the prop load, and that'll be the return of the T-minus 20-minute event again, except this is the final purge, which now we see.
It's a good sign. We're getting close here, folks. Almost at the T-minus 90-second mark in 3 seconds. And marked 90 seconds to ignition. Now, coming up in the next ground gas closeout, fantastic. So as we cross the T-minus 1 minute mark, we will hear the call out from launch control that Falcon 9 is in startup. That is when Falcon 9 transfers all power to internal systems and it is controlling the launch on its own. Any aborts on that front will be automatic. And at about T-minus 45 seconds, we should be hearing a call out from the SpaceX launch director that they are go for launch. Mind you, there is a bit of a delay between SpaceX audio and our stream, so be on the lookout. There we go, right on cue. Falcon 9 now in startup just under 1 minute from launch. Should be hearing it go for launch from the launch director in just a few seconds as well.
LD, go for launch.
Go for launch. Fantastic call out. Now just over T-minus 30 seconds. Sawyer, you ready?
Oh, I'm always ready for this. Falcon 9, 30 seconds away.
And as we get closer to T0, keep an eye out on the very bottom of the rocket for a green flash. That is a substance being flowed through all 9 Merlin 1D engines called TTEB, triethyl aluminum triethylborine, as they ignite every engine in sequence before liftoff at T-minus, or T0, I should say. So coming up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have ignition, and we have liftoff. Go Falcon, go Starlink. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower. Stay tuned for audio as it is incoming. hear me over the crackle. It was a loud one tonight. Falcon 9 should be supersonic at this point and rapidly approaching max Q, or the point in flight where the vehicle experiences the most aerodynamic stresses on its overall structure.
I can really hear that crackle through your mic tonight, too. That must be a loud one.
I mean, it's been very humid all day, and as we say here, on any of our streams, warmer, thicker air here in Florida carries sound a lot better, and even though Slick 40 is about 4.5 miles away, it sounded a lot closer tonight. As Falcon begins to ascend, you will start to see the exhaust from all 9 Merlin 1Ds begin to expand as the ambient pressure around all 9 engines begins to decrease, and you will see the plume expanding outwards and also increasing in length and changing color, now glowing from an orange into a red and to a blue here in just a few seconds as they are rapidly approaching MECO. Standing by for MECO.
Love that blue color right beforehand.
It's gorgeous. And we have MECO with our eyes and on camera. Waiting on ignition of the Merlin vacuum engine. There it is with our eyes, and we should have it on camera. Boom.
Ignition. Great view of the green flash there, too, of the T-tab igniting.
Absolutely. We should be seeing some onboard views here in just a few seconds from Falcon 9.
Well, you can see the cold gas jet thrusters from stage 1 there in the plume.
Uh-huh. And look at the MVAC nozzle just glowing away as it radiates the heat outwards. Wow.
Next
we should be coming up on fairing separate. Yep, Jinx Sawyer. And
I think we do
on cue. There it goes. What'd you say?
I said, do you think we do this enough?
Maybe. It's become, almost routine for us now, but... And fairing separation on camera. Look at that.
And as Alex pointed out earlier, there is a potential, waiting for the official confirmation from the people doing the numbers, but there's a potential that could be a fairing that is flown for a 30th time.
And if you look carefully on the left-hand side of your screen there from the SpaceX's feed, you can actually see the light of the sun just over the horizon of Earth. So we launched about an hour and change after sunset here in Florida. A bit too late for the very well-known jellyfish effect here. But oh my word, that was still beautiful. And in that same view, you could very easily see the lights all around the east coast of Florida filling the screen. Wow.
Yeah, look at the expansion on it tonight, too. Dee getting some great work there with the camera, and also there from one of our Cape cams, too. You can really see it. So that's not so much the jellyfish effect as it is the cameras opening up their iris very wide.
Yes. And that is typically the effect that we see from the Merlin vacuum engine in the first couple of minutes after ignition. But as it approaches a higher altitude, that plume begins to fade out, at least from our perspective here on the ground. Mind you, it is now hundreds of kilometers downrange, and we are lucky to be even seeing it at this point from the ground. With the naked eye, it looks like just a star in the sky, a very dim star in the sky, mind you, but we can still track it with our naked eyes.
And that's 5 minutes into flight.
Yes, and at this point, Falcon 9's first stage should be passing its apogee and should be making its way back down toward the ocean. Sawyer, what should we expect next in the coming minutes as Falcon 9 begins to lower in altitude and towards the drone ship?
And you called it, by the way. We just hit the apogee as Ryan Caton switched there perfectly. So now, next up will be the entry burn. So it will start with a single engine, followed a couple seconds later by 2 additional engines. So 3 engines in total. That burn goes for approximately 20 seconds. That will help slow the vehicle down, but also acts as a sort of heat shield. The fire that it creates from those engines will envelop the vehicle and act as a sort of heat shield on its way down. That's why we say fighting fire with fire. Once that completes, it'll be about a minute later. It'll have a landing burn, which will be a single engine before the vehicle steers itself and then hopefully deploys the landing legs, landing safely on Just Read the Instructions, which is located just northeast of the Bahamas.
And we should be seeing the exhaust plume change in shape as we go from 1 engines to 3 and then back down towards 0. And actually, I can see entry burn with my eyes here just over the tree line here at the KSC press site. So we should be seeing it on stream in just a couple of seconds.
So for Max, it's an instant replay.
Yeah, I guess basically.
There's
yeah.
live.
Yeah, we have it live.
That's our cameras, by the way, that are capturing
Yes.
this. And there's the SpaceX view.
There we go. Now on 3 engines. The plume will go back to circular in shape as we get back down to 1 engine before shutting down. And then you will hopefully be seeing some plasma building up around the titanium grid fins, which helps steer the booster and help orient it. And there we go, engine shutdown as it lowers in altitude through the denser parts of Earth's atmosphere. The plasma looks absolutely wicked every time.
And you can see the soot starting to form on the camera lens there as it went through its own exhaust.
And excuse me, and a bit of glow there from the cold gas thrusters, and a bit of plasma there on the right-hand side grid fin. You can see you can just make out the waffle pattern there in the grid. That's so pretty.
And then once we hopefully get that feedback from SpaceX, keep an eye out towards the left side of the screen. Usually by the left grid fin is where we'll start to see the light of the drone ship, which again tonight is just read the instructions.
Should be coming up in just a few seconds, unless there is a pretty good cloud layer. Oh, actually, did we just see it there on the left-hand side?
There
of the
it
screen,
is.
Sawyer? Yes.
Yep.
That is just read the instructions, waiting for B-1085's landing burn, hopefully in a few seconds' time. Rapidly plunging in altitude and rapidly decreasing in speed, too, due to aerodynamic drag.
Meanwhile, stage 2 on the right side of the screen, continuing.
At a much faster pace now, mind you. Rapidly accelerating up to SECO in just about a little over a minute's time. There we go, ignition of the landing burn.
This is a single engine burn.
Yes, and we are still seeing the 4 grid fins, or at least 2 in this case, still working away, helping to orient Falcon 9 for hopefully a bullseye landing aboard Just Read the Instructions. It's always tense watching these. Here we go, onboard feed. And there we have it. Successful landing of booster B-1085 on SpaceX's recovery drone ship. Just read the instructions, making it look easy. Coming up now on your feed, as you can see, the MVAC nozzle of Falcon 9's second stage glowing away as it radiates the heat out from its exhaust. We should be approaching second engine cutoff, 1 in just a few seconds, or SECO 1 as you hear the call out on the screen.
By the way, the reason it's SECO 1 is there is another 2-second burn that happens about 50 minutes into flight.
And there we go. SECO 1. Second engine cutoff. Falcon 9 is safely in orbit, it looks, from everything that we are seeing. So we should be hearing about SECO 2 in about, what is it? So we're about 45 minutes to an hour?
Yeah, it's usually a T plus 50 minutes or so is when you get SECO 2, and then you get the stage or the satellites deployed a couple minutes after that.
Very good. And unfortunately, that is where we lose all the onboard feeds from SpaceX, but we will hear from them once they have successful satellite deployment of all 28 Starlink V2 mini satellites. But in the meantime, we are currently working some replays in the background. I mean, we should hopefully have those for you in not too long from now. But in the meantime, I think we should get through a couple of more questions since we have them.
By the way, one thing I want to point out, I don't know if you saw this too. One thing
What's
I've
that?
noticed SpaceX has been doing of late now is with that, on the deck of the drone ship, it seems like there's kind of pools of water, almost like little sprinklers as they brace for the incoming landing. I don't know if you've started noticing that too.
Yes, of course, and that is to help with the rapid wear and tear that the drone ship's surfaces go through, having to support multiple landings with minimal service, I should say, and that is why we see a ton of rust building up on the deck, because they're essentially once they come into port, once the booster is pulled off, they just resupply all ships involved and head straight back out for the next one. So I think in what this deluge system of sorts is hopefully doing is giving the exhaust from that single Merlin engine something to react with above the surface and help alleviate any additional wear that they would otherwise normally have on the deck, and increasing its service life before they have to bring the deck in for a repaint or any sort of repair. So, and that is equipped on both Just Read the Instructions and a Shortfall of Gravitas alike.
Is it on ASOG yet?
It is. I think so, yes.
Yeah, because I know they've been
Wait,
doing...
no, it's not. It's not. It's just
Yeah.
on Just Read. Yeah, you're right. my apologies. Yeah, it's just
That's right. No,
it's only on just read the instructions. My
right.
bad.
They started with just read the instructions recently,
Yes.
going in for refurbishment, and so I have a feeling next time that they take a shortfall of Gravitas out of the rotation to give it its upgrades and repaint the deck and
Yes.
fix it from being destroyed by all of the Merlins, they'll add that feature, the mini waterfall.
And we have seen that before here in person, as we have had an aerial perspective for some booster returns between the shortfall gravitas and just read the instructions before. They had this deluge system fitted, and the drone ship of each ship has gotten to look pretty orange at times with rust. Oh, we have replays?
That was fast, right?
That was a rapid replay, rapid turnaround, kind of like
on the
Flight
ball
40.
tonight. Hey, there you go.
Hey. This is one of I think this is one of D's cameras. It is a static camera view from the KSC press site there. Beautiful. We have audio with this one too? Maybe?
Not yet. I think that'll be one of the trackers, maybe?
Maybe. And here is the behind the scenes camera placed behind D. You can see Falcon 9 becoming airborne in the background and the way it is lighting up the environment. Folks, that is about how it looks to your naked eye. That is not an exaggeration. That is how it looks. It's called an artificial sunrise for a reason. Looks like one more of these cameras there on the lawn. Camera adjusting exposure perfectly there. I think this is from D's tracking camera. I know D is also working some slow-mo footage to play out with, so stay tuned for that in the coming minutes. But yeah, that's always beautiful.
Well, I love it from the port view.
It never gets old from port. And this is from one of our fleet cams over at Rusty's, the restaurant based right on the water in Port Canaveral. And you can see Falcon 9 rising there above one of the cranes that services the SpaceX boosters.
And isn't there a booster in port there, it looks like?
There is.
I mean, you would know if you watched our Space Coast Live, our 24/7 live cameras, where you can also see all the action happening in the port and at the Cape.
That never gets old. That's so pretty.
Oh.
I mean, you're still working those slow-mo replays behind the scenes in a minute. Those should hopefully be up in a couple of minutes. But I think, Sawyer, do you want to hit one more question?
Do it.
Let's see. Oh, I just had it. Where'd it go? Okay, here we go. From Jax, what would a Starship trajectory out of the Cape look like? I think to start, it's worth noting that the flight path out of Starbase is very confined because it is launching over the Gulf of Mexico, and they have to avoid the land around Florida and also Cuba and all the other islands in the Caribbean. So, yeah, I think they are very limited in what they can do out of Starbase, but from Florida, as we've seen from both like 40 and 39A, they can launch anywhere from a really northeast flight path to borderline polar or a polar flight path. Sawyer, what do you think?
I mean, I think it honestly is going to be trajectories very similar to what we see for Falcon 9. These are pretty well up because to start, Starship is going to be doing a lot of Starlink satellites, so they're probably going to be going into very similar shells. So as a result, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the ones going north of the Bahamas or towards the northeast along the eastern coast of the U.S., basically avoiding going over land and keeping those similar trajectories with the ability to potentially RTLS to then be caught back in the chopsticks either at 39A or wherever else they end up going. So I wouldn't expect much different. And hopefully we even get, can you imagine, Starship Southern Polar Launch Corridor?
Dude, a Starship launching polar, I'm just trying to imagine it now in my head, watching from like a beach around either Sherry Down or somewhere in Cape Canaveral. Oh my days, that's going to look so pretty. You are going to be literally face on with Starship right over your head.
Yes.
My goodness. View from one of our bot cameras here, mounted on the hut here at the KSC press site. Artificial sunrise for a reason, and I believe this is also auto track. Another one of our robot cameras.
Yep.
All right, folks, it looks like we will take one more ad here as we go through more replays here with the Popular Science Channel. We will be right back here with D's slow-mo to play us all out. Golly, that is so pretty.
Oh, again, artificial sunrise. I know you keep saying it. I know I keep saying it. But if you have to come down and see a night launch for yourself to understand it.
I know it sounds cliche to this point, and also us saying it never gets old. It sounds cliche, but until you're here seeing it in person and just fully understanding what a marvel of engineering we are watching before our eyes, honestly, it doesn't. I promise you it does not. It feels the same every time.
Yeah,
This is
we're in the
Go ahead,
hundreds
sir.
of launches, all of us, and it's I never want to
Great
miss
view
one.
there of stage step and MVAC ignition.
I'm not sure who was the one doing the tracking on that from one of our Cape cams, but it's someone who's probably hundreds of miles away. Gage.
Gage.
Yes, from Starbase, I believe, tracking the launch in the Cape.
Tracking a launch out of Florida from Starbase. Casual flex, as you do. As one does.
Yeah, Gage just preparing for the rollout of the new orbital launch mount for Pad B, which we will also be streaming as soon as that happens here.
Hopefully soon, and we are seeing road closures for today or tonight into tomorrow morning, so stay tuned. We'll have to wait and see. But in the meantime, look, see, that's what we were talking about. It's not quite a jellyfish. Oh, and we cut away. Oh, there we go. Back and forth, up and down, left and right. That is the exhaust expansion from the MVAC engine on Falcon 9's upper stage. It looks very similar to this with your naked eye, but as it climbs and flies farther away from you, it becomes just like a faint little star just over the horizon. But you can basically track it all the way to Seco here, with, of course, good weather. What was that view of the orbital launch mount? There we go. That is the orbital launch mount, the brand new orbital launch mount for Pad B in Starbase, and it looks like they are beginning to prepare it to roll to the pad, hopefully tonight at some point.
So again, we have that's over there on Starbase Live. We also have a stream that you can go ahead and click on it and hit the remind me button so you know when it actually happens. Because Max, I think you and I will both be there for it.
You and I potentially have a very long night ahead of us. But the instant that we see movement on that big hunk of metal, we are going to be having all of our cameras right on it. So stay tuned. That is coming hopefully tonight.
Also, I saw a comment from someone saying, off I go to look for a second stage deorbit / second burn. Too bad it's impossible to find good info on how to see them. I don't know if we've seen, because they tend to start being similar trajectories at this point. We sometimes see these doing their passivation and stuff over Europe before the deorbit, which eventually will have it crashing into the ocean right around somewhere between South Africa and Madagascar in that area. But this one does not go over Europe in the specific one. I'm trying to remember what it is for Group 6.
I believe we've also seen deorbits of the upper stage from, I believe, SoCal and also Arizona as well.
And for past missions, we've also seen them for Starbase, but yeah, I believe this one will be a West Coast one.
But in the meantime, I want to hit some quick support before we begin to wrap up here. Another super chat from Ethereal Swordsman, $5 super chat. I'm not even going to read that. That is just absolutely diabolical. David Miller gifting 1 Red Team membership to a lucky viewer. Roseanne Vasto, a name that we have seen here before. Sorry for the late arrival. Goodness gracious, what are words? It is Sawyer and I, and also D out in the field, and we will get to everyone else in just a moment. Bear with us. Brett Vaughn closing out support, becoming a Red Team member. Brett, you're a legend. Thank you so much for the support. Well, folks, I believe it is that time of night. I believe it is time to start wrapping up coverage here of Starlink 6-93. I want to first thank the people that have been on commentary with us tonight, beginning with Mr. Sawyer Rosenstein. Sawyer, thanks so much for coming along.
Always a pleasure. Again, it may seem like it's just a Starlink, but I always like to say they're not your ordinary Starlinks, and you can see why each time you watch one.
Absolutely. It's always a treat. And also out in the field with all of the cameras is D Wise. Thanks for coming out, D.
Of course, this was a wonderful evening. It was a wonderful launch, and thank you everyone for being here.
100%. We are so glad the weather cleared out as well as it did. Behind the scenes, pushing the buttons and pulling levers for both us and the popular science channel tonight has been Ryan Caton and also Jay Keegan, pushing the buttons and pulling all of the levers that they got to do. Well, folks, my name is Max Evans, spaceflight photographer here at NSF, and I have been your host for this evening's stream. Thanks so much for coming to hang out with us tonight, and we will hopefully be seeing you in just a few hours for coverage of the orbital launch mount to roll to Pad B in Starbase, Texas. But until then, we'll see you next time.
And here we go. We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, with planet.
Water towers fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight constellation speed off. Bring in SPD off. Off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
Look at this!
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
If the methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You read? We don't need any more of these.